With the Guardians pushed back and Eorzea saved, we now have some free time to go on a little adventure, one mandated by the MSQ. A strange man lingering in Revenant's Toll tells us of a special opportunity to the east. And so we meet with a man named Rambros, the Sons of St. Koinak, and we're told that they seek entry into an elegant structure called the Crystal Tower. Sid is there too, and we're given our first objective to aid the cause. They're in need of some very pure crystals, and so we go pay a visit to some tempered kobold and Sahagin to requisition some from them. They need fire and wind crystals now, so this time we go to the Amalja and the Ixal. We're sent to the Goldsmith's Guild in Ul'dah to see if they have any of the Aether Sand Rambros has reserved. They only have fire Aether Sand for us, and it turns out the Biggs is trying to get his hands on it too. Unfortunately for him, it's ours to purchase. He lets it slide after we tell him what we're working on, and even tells us where Wedge was searching for another type of Aether Sand we'll need. We find Wedge cowered away in the den of some bandits, and sure enough, he has the Aether Sand we're after. So after rescuing him from his situation and explaining our quest, we go back to Rambros to make our delivery. We're sent to Gordani to ask a merchant if he has any of the Aether Sand we need. He has none, but he tells us to go into the woods, where ore may be found just near an infamous, monstrous boar. Sure enough, we find the boar, but there's one thing off. It's dead. A voice in the distance tells us that they've already taken the water Aether Sand, but they let us know that there's wind Aether Sand for the taking, if we beat them to it. Supposedly the sand is at an Ixal logging camp. It's there, but we have to fight for it. After we win our prize, the voice congratulates us, and insists that we take the water Aether Sand too? Well, I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, so... yoink. We return to Rambros with both types of Aether Sand, and so Sid is able to finish making his special crystals. Biggs and Wedge finally show up too. And then another person speaks up from above us. Grahatia, member of the Students of Aldesian, and the very same person who gifted us the Aether Sand. He's also a fellow member of this very expedition. With the introductions complete, it's time to stroll on down to the entrance of the Crystal Tower. The barrier for the entrance is crazy strong, and it's even multi-layered. But that's why we brought some very well-made crystals. Alright, full disclosure, I randomly queued for this with 3 helpers, so just to get through these alliance raids, which are required for main story progression, I'm gonna have to be a little annoying to some random players. The first boss is the Bone Dragon. Our main goal is to keep these bone boys away from it, and kill it over and over. Next up is an encounter where a few members from each alliance have to stand on some pads, while the rest of the party fight Natimos. The next boss is Thanatos. But not the Greek one, or the hot Greek one, just the elegant one. One party at a time receives a buff that allows them to actually attack the boss, while the rest fight off a few different adds. In this next encounter, each alliance has to slay a Visago in order to remove the center bomb's shield. They also have to fend off a little bomb while doing so. After slaying the bomb, we encounter the next boss, King Behemoth. There's only 2 real things to know about this fight. You see the green rock above some players' heads? Those are markers indicating that a meteor will fall on them, but This is actually a good thing. Why is it good? Because it acts as cover for when Behemoth does this. The final boss is Phlegethon, and he mostly just has a bunch of AoEs to dodge, but there is one trick to look out for. After getting him down to about half health, he'll make a break for the center. This is your sign to run back to the outside of the arena to your party's pad. Why? Because nobody on pads means no shield, and no shield means death. From there, it's just burning his health down while avoiding his attack. Sticking close to your party's pad as a ranged DPS is the easiest solution to this fight. We're met with the scene of a man strolling through the rubble of the entrance of the Labyrinth. That man is the very same one who told us about the expedition and sent us on this quest. Oh shit. Back at the expedition, we're discussing how the group has been unable to enter the tower proper due to its defensive measures. And that's when two strangers show up, claiming to be able to be of help to our quest. Graha clutches his eye, revealing to us that his red-colored iris stems from something he calls the Allagan Eye, which is a trait that runs in his family very rarely. Unai and Doga both have the very same trait, except it's in both of their eyes, as opposed to just one. So we head on back to the door to the tower. The front of the door is engraved with a man and a woman, strangely enough. Without warning, Unai and Doga approach the door. Sure enough, the door opens easily. A familiar voice recites text telling that only Allagan royal blood may open the gates to the tower. Well, you already know it's Nero, finally deciding to show himself to the group. Sid is bewildered, to say the least. Nero reassures us that he isn't trying to cause problems for us, even telling us that he would probably be hanged if he went back to Garlemald. We meet back up outside where Unai and Doga tell us that they're actually clones of ancient Allagans. Wait, what? Okay, time for a history lesson. Long ago, the Allagan Empire was in turmoil, stagnating without a powerful leader at its head. A man named Amon lamented this, but believed that he could bring prosperity back to his home. Amon began his foul experiments, venturing into the territory of cloning life, making copies of beings living and dead. He began with the descendants of the former Emperor Zandi, creating clones of them. Unai and Doga are clones from the very same experiments. After toiling away at his research, Amon finally succeeded in his ultimate goal, resurrecting Emperor Zandi as a clone. With Zandi returned, the Allagan Empire flourished once more. But as with all emperors, he was not content with just that. Zandi wished for the Empire to rule over every bit of the world, and to do so he sought to employ the power of darkness. However, his plans were cut short by the Crystal Tower sinking into the earth from a magical mishap. The tower's residents were frozen in time, locked away. Until now. And so we have to scale the tower and slay Zandi to make sure he doesn't wield the Crystal Tower to consume the world. The Crystal Tower proper is a lovely winding spire that reaches up to the heavens, and for this raid we're forced to scale it. And man, there are a lot of stairs. first boss is Skyla, and she has some pretty simple mechanics. So the major mechanic to worry about involves 3 varieties of orbs, each having a chance to tether themselves to you, and each requiring a different response. Lightning Orb, just run this to one of the 3 magical pillars in the arena. Ice Orb, you're gonna get frozen, it's gonna suck. Pray to your god. Fire Orb, please, for the love of God, run your orb into the people who are frozen. I beg of you, please. Okay, yes, it's true, I was targeted by an ice orb. I was even frozen by an ice orb. But, it got worse. That's right. KO'd by the raid wide. The next boss is Glassy Labyrinth, and it has a ton of mechanics to worry about. AoEs adds an even mechanic where it regenerates, and it's dead. Okay. Ammon's next on the chopping block. That's right. The guy who brought Zandy back, that crazy-ass scientist himself. A lot of mechanics in this fight boil down to attacking ads, and like a lot of the others in the series, you can skip a lot of the mechanics just because the content is so old and everything dies so quick because of the wonky level syncing. Perhaps the hardest part of this fight is not laughing at the monster named ComCom while you're in voice chat with your friends. When the fight's just about over, 3 random players will be targeted and frozen solid. The rest just need to get behind the frozen players before Ammon finishes casting his final ability, Curtain Call. Luckily I got frozen, so I didn't have to move anywhere. Right off the bat, Zandy puts these golden rings all around the arena. You want one person in each ring to soak up the damage, which is just a little bit. If someone doesn't stand in it, the whole raid takes massive damage instead. Then these little zones appear that we have to damage and destroy or else we all die, but nowadays, this is pretty difficult to actually fail. After that comes a 3-part maneuver. Ready? Stack. Stay. And I mean stay. And then go. Congratulations, you're now an expert in fighting Zandy. From there, it's just the same old stuff repeated. And now, Circus Tower is complete. With Zandy slain, a dark rift opens before us. The clones explain that Zandy made an allegiance with a powerful being in the void, allowing creatures called Void Sent to come into our world in exchange for their help. That pact is still ongoing. The 2 try to leverage their relation to Zandy to destroy the pact, but it doesn't go as planned. Dark Loons of Unai and Doga appear all around us, and we get a rather poorly timed vision from the Echo. Well, that sounds pretty bad. Sid and Nero are holding off the clones to the best of their abilities, but more keep popping up in their place. And in the midst of the fight, our Doga is taken from us by the darkness. Just as the darkness grasps at Unai, Nero charges through the crowd. Only to get grabbed by the darkness as well. Well, shit. Voice on the other side introduces itself as the Cloud of Darkness, and threatens to return our world to the void. After the rift fucks off, the dark clones fall to the ground, and we're left trying to find the next solution to this mess. Alright, the plan is simple. We're gonna use the power of the Crystal Tower to reopen the rift and dive right on into the void to rescue our friends. And Nero. Grahatia asks to join us on this journey into the rift, and of course we oblige. Now it's time to go on in. The World of Darkness is an absolutely gorgeous place, and luckily for us, we'll have plenty of time to admire it while walking around. This room is bad news for someone who's walking. Seriously, there are a bunch of AoEs on the ground. This big eyeball creature named Angramanyu is the first boss of this raid. During the fight, 4 hourglasses will appear around the arena, and a light will rotate between the quadrants of the room. Basically, it'll get slower and slower as the hourglasses are killed. You want to be out of the light when it finally stops, or you're gonna die. For this mechanic, the arena is split into dark and light halves. This is actually a very simple one. It's a little tricky for me since I have to walk, but basically you want to stand in a different side each time, so dark then light or light then dark. You get the idea. After that, just position your character to be facing away from the boss while he's casting Mortal Gaze, and you'll be fine. Next up is the 5-headed dragon, totally not a Hydra. The most important part of this fight is defeating the individual heads when the dragon starts charging up its big attack. You can see how much it hurts even when you do it right, so I'm sure you can imagine how bad it would be if those heads don't die. In this encounter, each party wails on an Atomos while getting tossed around by it. Cerberus is a big 3-headed dog with 3 different mechanics for each alliance. Alliance A is typically responsible for the ads, Wolfsbane. They just have to kill him. Alliance B has to get minified and then eaten by the boss to attack it from inside its stomach. Yes, that's real. And then Alliance C has to chain Cerberus up after he's been weakened from having his stomach attacked. As you can see, I got Alliance C, so I kinda lucked out. B would require a lot more movement on my part. Besides those 3 mechanics, there are obviously your standard AoEs to look out for. And they can get just a little hectic. Alright, this is it, the last boss, and this is the one I've been afraid of since starting this raid series. The Cloud of Darkness is a pretty tough fight for beginners. It has a few key attacks that are incredibly punishing for those who are in the wrong place, and you're given little time to get to the right spots. Allow me to show you just the second scariest thing this boss can do. The boss disappears and comes back at a different spot in the arena, firing off a front-facing line AoE soon after reappearing. It's pretty bad to get hit by this. Just like with Zandy, party members must scatter around the arena to soak up the damage in these rings. Clouds will start to appear, approaching the Cloud of Darkness. You have to intercept to kill them before they reach her. Three little sections will form in the arena. Make sure you get to your party's designated spot. There's an ad you'll have to kill in there, and once the walls close, you can't get in or out. Oh, fuck. At least I didn't die. Just like that, we finish off the last boss, but it wasn't easy. We look all around, but we can't seem to find our companions. Oh, Nero doesn't look too good. Nero came in here wounded, and so the darkness more easily permeated into his body, which is, frankly, awful. Since Zandy's pact extends to all Allegan royalty, the siblings have been given some bit of protection in this hostile place. Just as the group is reformed, the Cloud of Darkness appears once again. In her realm, we're unable to truly slay her, and the tank's running dry. I definitely can't fight her again. In this moment of desperation, the clones reveal a secret. Graha has royal Allegan blood in his veins. That's why he has the eye. The two do what they can, using their own royal ancestry to awaken Grahas fully. So we make a break for it. Running for the exit as Unai and Doga vow to stay behind to break the pact with the Cloud of Darkness. Just as we get close to the gate, Nero stumbles, his body weakening from the darkness. Suddenly, the darkness is dispelled from Nero's body, and the cloud of darkness is nipping at his heels. He dives towards the closing gate, and all seems lost. Until his old rival Sid Garland reaches out a helping hand. We awaken at the top of the tower. Everyone's safe and present, save for Rona and Doga. We meet back up at the camp and discuss what happened. A member of the research team arrives, telling us that Grahatia is forcing everybody out of the tower, and so we rush over. He meets us at the door to the tower, not daring to cross its threshold. He tells us how the survivors of Alag wished for the tower to once again be a beacon of hope for humanity, and he desires nothing more than to see that wish brought to fruition. He turns to face us once again and states plainly that he's going to put the tower to rest once more until humanity has technology to rival the ancient Alligans, and he too will slumber with it. So we say our goodbyes to Grahatia, hoping to one day meet again. Nero stares out at the crystal tower, and finally abandons the last remnant of his old ways. And with that, this singular story comes to a close. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel so you can catch the next one when it comes out. Thanks for watching.